Today on Talking for Days, with me I have Adrian, the creator of a tool that many of us use called Gyroflow. This tool can be used on many cameras and you can stabilize footage in post. It's amazing, and Adrian made this software available for free on the internet for everybody to use, and now we're going to talk to Adrian about this software. Hi Adrian.
Hey David, how are you?
How you doing? Yeah, I'm good, and you?
I'm very good, thank you.
All right, Adrian, let's start off with what I like asking people is, where are you from? What do you do? What do you like doing, like flying drones or other hobbies? And also, why did you make this software? So let's start with the obvious.
Yeah, so I'm from Poland, and on my spare time I like to basically shoot some movies, but not professionally, but for hobbies. I travel a lot, so that's mostly connected. So I record all my travels, and just as a legacy to see later all those travels and stuff like that, not to have a YouTube channel or anything, just for myself and my future to remember all those moments. So I do a lot of recording of videos, and that includes cameras, gimbals, drones, normal drones like Mavic, FPV drones, and basically everything that you can use to record videos. And also in my free time I like doing some sports. I like running, I like some walking up in the mountains, so that's also my way to get away from the computer, because a lot of my spare time is spent on the computer, on the Gyroflow actually, and that takes a lot of my free time. And besides that, I have a normal job as a software developer, so yeah, that's how everything looks for me.
That's awesome. So you say you like making film, so it's like travel video, you mean, more or less?
Yeah, but I'm not editing them for specific trip. More like I do some yearly summaries. So then I have a lot of travels during the year, and I put one video that's like 5 to 8 minutes long that contains all of those different highlights of those travels. And this way I can go and say, see a video from 5 years ago, and it turns out that you don't remember a lot of details, and this short video you can just watch and remember all those travels and cool things that were happening. So I always have some camera on me, so either be like GoPro or some small action camera. So everything that's happening I like to record and then put together in this highlights movie.
And let me ask you, how old are you, just out of curiosity?
I'm 31.
31, okay. So when did you start playing around with cameras, and what camera was that? Your first one?
I think my first serious camera was Panasonic Lumix GH4. That was the first.
Love it, I have one too. It's amazing. And for time-lapse, one of the best cameras ever.
Yeah, and at that time it was really the best choice because it was affordable and it had a great quality. Actually, before that I started with my first GoPro was GoPro 3 and then 4. And that started a lot of more filming when I had those cameras. Then later on, I basically had every major camera that came onto the market. I was chasing the highest quality, the most convenient workflow, stuff like that. So I upgraded to GH5, GH5S. Later, then I switched to Sony A7S II. Now A7 is free. And a bunch of gimbals and stuff like that. All the Mavics that were there, I started with a first Phantom 2, actually the Phantom 2, when you didn't have any preview or you didn't know actually what you were filming. You just strap a GoPro under it and hope for the best. And that was the first steps. And later on, we had live view of everything that's happening, the control of the camera, and that changed a lot. And then the first Mavic came, it was revolutionary, and then a lot of drones after that. So I went through all those equipment.
And then anybody who's listening to this and is interested, basically it says Adrian makes a software that stabilizes footage. And it's quite funny because one of the cameras, I can hear something in this, is that you started with Lumix, but you went quickly over to Sony. and you like Sony a lot. And it's funny because Sony and flying on drones, like there's one camera that's good, the FX6, and that's about it.
Yeah, I know, but I switched to Sony mostly because of the A7S II model, which are for the low light capabilities. And the low light was important for me because, you know, a lot of activities were not planned, just was in the moment. So a lot of those were at evenings or at night. So there's basically no other camera that could record some sensible video at low light.
Yeah. No, first time I saw the Sony S2 in low light, A7S was the first one, right, with low light?
Yeah, but it didn't have 4K, and then the A7S2 had 4K, yeah, so that was the evolution.
But still, yeah, like game changer it was. When you met somebody who had one and they showed it to you, you how's that even possible?
Yeah, right, exactly.
So when did you start flying FPV?
I started flying FPV in 2019, and I basically wanted to expand my video equipment to record more perspectives for everything, for all those travels and stuff like that. And that was actually the time when the switch from analog to digital was taking place with the first air unit. And I was actually planning to build my first quad with analog, but I didn't know any like the technical details. And before I did all the research and committed to it, the air unit came out, and I finally didn't buy analog in the end, but I built my first quad with first air unit. So that was my beginning of the FPV.
Good. Yeah, you weren't like some of us that already had like 15 drones, and all of a sudden you get digital and you're like, this is going to be expensive.
Yeah, I went straight into digital, so yeah, that was nice.
And do you fly usually the same kind of drones, like 5-inch, or do you have like a quiver of 2-inch, 5-inch cinelifters and all this?
I have a few. I started with a 5-inch just to carry a GoPro. That was the easiest and most versatile option. Then I added some Cineloop. At first it was the Shendron Squirt, because that was the first king of Cineloops.
Everybody had one of those.
Yeah, and then it went to some smaller Cineloops as well, because as I was doing everything when traveling, I wanted to keep my setup light so I can pack everything as tightly as possible. So in the end, right now I have 5-inch, and I have the Pavo Pico, so that's the smallest I can use.
I really like the Pavo Pico. It flies good, right?
Yeah, and
for being a out of a box product.
Yeah, exactly. It's nice. And the size is amazing, so I can just pack it. It doesn't occupy any space, especially that I have the same controller and the same goggles as for 5-inch, and I have more possibilities to like go some tight places with the Cineloop, and that's also enables creative filming.
Yeah, and not irritate people with bigger drones or noise or something.
Yeah.
Oh, so cute.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Of course, the Pavo Pico with the O3 air unit, meaning we can use gyro, which is
exactly
amazing. And let's not beat around the bush. Let's get into Gyroflow, because that's what I want to talk to you about. And so, just for the people who don't really know what we're talking about. There's a program called Real Steady for GoPro, and this is where you can take your GoPro. When you're recording, it records the gyro data alongside the video file. You put it into the software of now it's called GoPro, but it was made by a guy called Robert McIntosh, I think. And this would then grab your file. The gyro data is like when you move the camera around, it records all that. So it would like stabilize your footage in post. So you crop in a little bit, but then you can stabilize, and it changed the way we make movies with FPV drones. And I'm also going to talk about how it changed more than just FPV drones, and thanks to Adrian, actually. So, Robert McIntosh made this first software. Did you ever use the first version of Real Steady?
Yeah, for sure. I use it as long as I could, basically, for all that I needed for the GoPro, because I had all the GoPros along the way, so I use Real Steady, definitely.
And as a developer, what did you think when you saw it the first time? Because I mean, maybe you only use it for GoPro, but you could it was a plugin in After Effects, I think, first.
Yeah,
that would analyze, right?
Yeah, exactly. At first it was a plugin in the After Effects, and I also tried it. But when the GoPro came out version with using the gyro data, because the plugin didn't use gyro data, it was analyzing the video. It got so much easier, and the results were so much better with GoPro when providing this gyro data. And GoPro actually was the first camera to record that data and open it to everyone. So that enabled that possibility, and that basically was the start of this kind of software to stabilize.
And why did you decide to all of a sudden go, well, I'm going to have to make this software?
Yeah, like I knew that a lot of improvements can be done. For starters, I am basically a pixel freak, so I have to have the most quality possible. So the fact that I have no control over the bitrate or anything in the first Real Steady was really the drawback, that I can't input any encoding parameters and anything like that. I can just export one MP4 file and that's it. And that was really the main thing for me, that I can't do anything else. I am stuck with this. And also it was using the CPU encoding, so that was quite slow. And around that time, hardware acceleration was going basically to more modern consumer hardware. So I wanted that we can use that. And since it wasn't the open source or anything, there was no way to modify it. So the only way to do something more was to write my own.
And I mean, I'm not a coder, but I understand a little bit of coding. But how did you start off? So did you just grab like what camera did you started with a GoPro? Was that it? Was it you were looking at Real Steady going, this is not good enough, I can do better? Or were you already then thinking, I am going to implement this on more cameras?
No, my main focus was on GoPro, because that was the proven thing to work, and I had most of my footage on the GoPro, so that was my main focus. But actually I didn't start the Gyroflow. The Gyroflow and the name and the first version was started by Elvin Chen. He actually written some like very basic Python script that you can run. It was very cumbersome to use. It was like more like research or project or something like that. You could just download it and run, but it was basically not the quality. It was nothing better than Real Steady, you know.
Yeah.
But
I think
it
I
was
remember
open
that.
source.
It was like you had to write codes, right? And there was like text going around and saying how many percent was done, right?
Yeah, it had the console.
Because when you said Elvin Chen.
Yeah, but the advantage of that it was open source, so I could contribute to that. I can make some changes and make it better. But another problem with that was that it was written in Python. Probably most of you don't see any difference in the languages, but the thing is that it was very limited of what you can do, because it used the common library called OpenCV, so this is for computer graphics, and it also didn't have any low-level control over the pixels. So if I were to add any advanced features like rolling shutter correction, I would have to basically re-implement all of that library anyway. So it was not possible to do it in this language. So it was great to do some prototyping and research. I checked maybe some things that could work, but to take it to the next level, it couldn't be in that language. So, but all the algorithms for stabilization, they started there, and for adaptive zooming, for dynamic zooming also started in Python. So I basically used those open source code and algorithms and written everything from scratch in a different language. And I also started to work on UI, on the user interface, because the previous one, was just cumbersome to use. It was very.
I'm starting to remember, yeah.
Yeah. So I knew that I need to start this over. I have the algorithms. I know that it can work, and I have some base. And over that, I just created a new user interface, more advanced features like rolling shutter correction, and basically hardware acceleration as well. So encoding using hardware that was also not available there, but I implemented it for the new version. And it was in development. Actually, I started it without telling anyone, without consulting with anyone. So just to see how far can I go with it, with the base that I have and starting from scratch. And then when I had some basic working program that you can actually already use, I sent it a message to Elvin, to the author, and I said, hey, look, I made some improvements. I written it from scratch in this different language, and we have some options. Now, I can make it a separate program, or we can deprecate the old code base in Python, and then just switch to this my version from now on and continue growing from there. And yeah, there was also an option that I could just turn it into completely different product and make it like a company. But I just wanted to keep it open source, and we agreed with Elvin that just keeping it open source and the same name, the same logo and stuff like that, just replace with the newer modern code base and push it from there to the community. And that's how it went today.
So now you spark up my curiosity, because I can imagine like the world of people are doing this, they're trying to stabilize everything. You're on this, because I didn't know this about you, that you also were into pixel sniffing and like, videoing. So that's very interesting, because that makes it much better for us and for you to do the testing, because you don't need too much beta testers. So how were people reacting to this? Because all of a sudden you show up and you're like, hey boys. I mean, there must have been like, 10, 15 guys who were really or girls who were really into this, testing this software with Elvin, and all of a sudden you come in and say, guys, here's a GUI, here's how it works, and here's how it can be better. And they must have gone like, whoa. Like, what was the general consensus of the people talking about it? Did you feel like overnight people were like, well, what is this? Who is this guy? What happened here?
Yeah, I actually wasn't like out of the blue, but because I exchanged some messages before on Discord with them, but just some like basic stuff about the previous program. So they kind of knew my name, but it wasn't like the whole thing. But when I showed them the working version, that was my goal, that I didn't want to promise anything. I just wanted to see how far can I go, and then when it's working to the point that we can start with it, then I can just show them that it works already. And when I sent it, the reception was very good. They were very impressed, and yeah, everyone just agreed that this is the better way forward, and we stick with it. And at first, we spent like 2 or 3 months, I think 3 months, working without doing any announcement or telling anyone publicly that we will be changing that. And then we make the premiere with first working version of ready for the public, basically. So the first prototype that I was able to send, I did it like 1.5 months. So from scratch, I started with nothing, and then after 1.5 months, I have a version that you can run, you can load the file, you can stabilize, and you can export.
So this was only working with, back then it must have been GoPro 6 then, right?
Yeah, GoPro 6 was at the time, yeah. Because GoPro 7 was around, but it didn't work well because of the firmware issues, yeah.
So was Real Steady out, the GoPro version wasn't out yet?
Yeah, and
Real Steady that you have to buy?
That's the funny thing. They were already working on them, on the GoPro player version, but they also kept it secret, and nobody knew. And I also didn't know. So we were working on the Gyroflow on the background, and GoPro was working on GoPro Player, the new version in the background. And then we made
Yeah.
the premiere first, the public, and created the trailer. We went on the Reddit, on different forums, and we just made the announcement. And 2 days later, GoPro made our announcement and the preview. And it was exactly because we showed up Gyroflow and they saw it, and they knew that they have to show that they were also working on it.
Yeah.
So we triggered basically the premiere from the GoPro.
I had some friends who got some test accounts with GoPro to test it, and they were showing the results, and it was just so much faster than it was before, you know?
Yeah.
It went from maybe 40 minutes to stabilizing a footage to 4 or 5 minutes. It was amazing. And I mean, I remember the first time I tried your software, Gyroflow, with a GUI edition, because I did try it before. When you talked, I remember I tried something like that when it was very like text-based.
Yeah.
But I remember, and I still see it today, is like, it's in yours it says how many FPS it's going at. I love that. That's so like, you know, old school hackerish, like, all right, this is how many FPS we're going at. And if you have a faster computer, that will be a little bit faster, so you can like see how much faster your computer is when you do upgrades, which is quite cool. I like that. So I have like 1,000 questions. Let me just, what, I mean, you have another job. We can talk about that in a bit, but this must have cost you like a lot of hours. I mean, you're working on this as a passion project. So, I mean, if a developer per hour costs, I mean, in a cheap country, we're talking about 30 to 50 euros an hour. How many hours have you put into this? Do you know?
I didn't count that after that, because and when I started first working on them to first public version, I actually estimated that just at the time to make the first public announcement, and taking into account my hourly rate that I take as a software developer, the making of the first version of Gyroflow actually costed like $60,000 of my time, basically.
60.
Yeah.
60.
Yeah.
And it's for free, people. And I know, and maybe you can plug more of this in the end if you want, but I know that you needed money at some point for Blackmagic, and some of us, we chipped in and gave you money to buy a license, I think it was. But wow, 60,000 then.
And that was for the first version. Yeah.
Now.
Yeah. Yeah, but I don't count that because I make it as a passion project. I do it for fun, and I do it basically for myself. Yeah, that was basically the reason, because I needed a tool for my editing, for my movies, and I knew that there is nothing that I can use that meets my demands, basically. And the only way was to make it myself, then to the point that I can improve some things that I actually need. Because when software is closed source or is owned by company, you can make a request, but who knows if ever it will be implemented. But when something is open source, you can just go in, change to your liking, and then it's there. So that's great.
And how much, talking about open source, how much are there other programmers who help you and contribute with stuff, like really programming stuff, or just people like me who bug you and send you files and can you do this?
Yeah, we still have the initial team that we were working with, Elvin and a few others. There are some specializations. For example, we have 2 people working on hardware, so basically a gyro logger that you can use to any camera and stuff like that. The most important contribution I had from Vladimir Pinchuk. He implemented the synchronization algorithm, because before the first version didn't have very accurate. You can hit autosync, but it was slightly off. It wasn't as accurate as it could be. And I actually didn't have any idea how I can improve that, how I can implement that, because I didn't know enough math to come up with the solution. And he implemented the whole synchronization algorithm. He actually made his master's degree thesis at school, and he contributed that to Gyroflow. So thanks to him, we have the accurate synchronization algorithm. And besides that, there were a bunch of...
What name?
Vladimir Pinchuk.
Vladimir, thank you very much from me and all the community for helping with this as well.
Yeah, that was the biggest like code-wise. And other than that, we have a few others that contributed smaller fixes or some smaller parts. Some contributed more, some less, but you know, overall, there's not that many people that who contributed. I think like maybe 6 or 7, like bigger contributions. But other than that, it's mostly me, and that was mostly in the beginning. Since like 2 years, I'm mostly on my own.
Okay.
And I think that's because the most basic things are already done, and the things that I'm adding now are much more complicated, and it's very hard to like find people who are familiar with those those complicated stuff. So, yeah. Because
it needs to be somebody like you who likes camera and can then contribute with something that you want to implement in this software, which is magic. Yeah. I mean, this was amazing. I remember it came out. We could use it on the GoPro, and it was different to the Real Steady, especially in the beginning when Real Steady came out, because there weren't many settings you could do. And with yours, you could choose bit rates. You could, put bit rates that even the camera doesn't do, and you would just force it onto the image, which in some cases could actually make it, I wouldn't say much better, but it would help you when you were going to grade and stuff like that. So, and you could say how much breathing you want. Breathing is how much you want it to zoom in and zoom in, zoom in and zoom out, how fast it does that while it's stabilizing. So if you do it, let me see if I get this right. If you do a slow breathing, it's zoomed in a little bit more. If you do a fast breathing, zoomed out, but then you can also see it sometimes in the footage, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, but so we did this all with the GoPro, and then we used it for free. Thank you. And then I know we were like, imagine if we had this on all the cameras there were. And I don't know who was the first one. It might have been Benoit Fink who told me that he had either spoken to you or to something. And I think it was the FX6 and the Blackmagic, correct me if I'm wrong, that you managed to get the gyro data off.
The first one that I had was Sony, basically, because I had that was around the time that Sony first added gyro to their cameras. And I had this camera because I get the most newer cameras that came out as soon as they are available. So I knew, okay, we have this for the GoPro, the gyro data is on the Sony, so this has to work. There's no other way, because otherwise I need to use the same tool for all cameras, otherwise it doesn't make sense. And then I learned that Sony has their own software called Catalyst Browse for stabilization. But I don't know how these companies do it, because this metadata in the Sony is great, it's amazing, everything is cool, but the software is absolute, like, it's very bad.
Disaster.
Yeah.
Sony, if you're listening, this guy right here can help you out.
Yeah, it's slow, it's cumbersome, you don't have many options, you are just limited to what you can do, you don't have any control over anything, and you don't even have control over the export settings or bitrate or anything. So it's even if it was, before I started Gyroflow, I would still have to write my own, because that wasn't what I needed, basically.
But correct me if I'm wrong, the Sonys, they have the sensor moves inside it. It has a IBIS. How does their software, can that work better than Gyroflow with their stabilization?
Yes, and they have IBIS, they have OIS, so the stabilization inside the lens, and also they have active stabilization, so basically like Gyroflow inside the camera, so electronically moving inside the camera. And actually the firmware is so great that all of this information is written in the file. So the amount of movement of the sensor for IBIS is written in the file. The amount of lens element inside the lens is also in the file. So all of this metadata, in addition to the gyro data, is inside the file. So it can be used to basically calculate the final correct position despite all those elements moving around inside the camera.
Wow.
However, this is a problem
However.
here because I haven't.
Opa, what happened? We lost you. Oy, we lost him. We lost him. He's gone. Ah! All right, let's hope he comes back. Cool.
Okay.
All
Yeah,
right.
sorry about that.
Your camera, I just want to say this. Sony, you're great, but his camera just overheated. You're in Poland, put it outside your house window, you know, like glued to the window and have it outdoors. It won't overheat then.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, sorry. Let's get back to what you were saying.
Yeah, actually, that was the very interesting part because Sony is not sharing any technical details about this metadata. So to get access to it basically I'm on my own. I have to reverse engineer and figure out how it's written, what are the units, how to use it, and stuff like that. And so far, I wasn't able to understand completely how the IBIS works and how this metadata works. So this is not supported in Gyroflow as of now, but I am working on that, and I actually put out a bounty for people to try if they want to join to figure out of $1,000. Actually, 1,000 for IBIS and 1,000 for lens correction because that metadata is also there. And some people were looking into it. So let's hope that we can figure out soon.
I used to work for Sony, and I've talked to friends who still work there, and I've tried to get these people to talk to Adrian, but at Sony I can talk about, but we're also trying with another company. We can talk a little bit about that, but these big companies, they are so hard to talk to, isn't it? It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous because Adrian has a software that will make you sell more cameras, and they're not interested. I mean, if Komodo, when like I'll just say right now, internally you can do Komodo and you can do Blackmagic that I know of, really good, like really good, and this is why people want to fly these on the FPV drones because, I mean, I don't think I've ever had to stabilize for customer only GoPro software. Once I stabilized Blackmagic software. Otherwise, the rigs are pretty clean. I've been lucky not had vibrations, but I am recording the gyro data. I do explain to, like when I give the file, I ask them who is the editor. Here's an email that I have ready that says, do this if you want to stabilize. Here's the software, it's free. You can do this for the export and, you know, our settings and stuff like this. And they appreciate it. They haven't used it, but it's there. But let's say you have a knacked prop or something, or you haven't got a very well-tuned drone, or it's very windy. Gyroflow will save. I mean, it will save it. It's amazing. And you have so many cameras that have a little chip inside it, and you just have to tap into that chip, extract the data, put it on there. So it's like a firmware upgrade, and your camera all of a sudden is like gimbal.
Yeah, exactly. And it's so low effort for camera manufacturers. It's basically, like you said, one small chip, and creative possibilities are expanded a great deal. So I wonder why most of other companies like Panasonic, Fuji, or Canon, or a few others don't add that. We tried to contact a few of them and mostly didn't get a response because those companies are so huge that it's very hard to go through all those corporate layers, like find the right person to talk to. It's basically impossible to talk with someone who can make any decision or anything like that.
I've been I love the Lumix, the BGH1, the BS1H, the GH5 and all these cameras. It's such a simple camera for people like me to just shoot, put it in Final Cut, and it's just so much easier for me to use that than the Blackmagic or the Komodo, that I have both and that I use both, but for clients. For me, I'd rather use this. And correct me if I'm wrong, on my BGH1, if I can see that level thing that does this in my screen, that means I have an accelerometer, right?
Yes.
So it should just be a little firmware update, and we're good.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you have a document ready for them. Here's what you need to do, and we're all good, and we're all best friends, right?
Yes, exactly. And
What
yet,
are you waiting for, Panasonic?
There is no response.
Yet there's no. I talked to Panasonic, Portugal, UK, USA. I tried talking to Japan, didn't answer me. Tried talking to France, didn't answer me. Tried sending one to Spain, didn't answer me. Got a hold of some people in Sweden. Got one guy to actually watch the YouTube video of what Gyroflow does while I'm speaking to him. And he's like, all right, let me escalate this. And I got like a number and an email of like the support query. Nada. They're just not interested. And it's beyond me. This is such an amazing software, and it solves, and I'm talking for me with FPV. People like what you do, not FPV, running in a mountain, going shooting stuff, not having to carry a gimbal. Like,
yeah.
The price you pay is you get a little bit more cropped in, but you don't carry something that can be stolen, that's worth like 300 to 700 euros, a kilo and a half, one more thing you need to charge, one more thing you need to think about, one more thing that can break, and you just have it in your hand. Just, come on,
yeah.
What are you waiting?
Yeah, and the crazy thing is that basically there are no drawbacks for the camera manufacturers. They literally don't have to compromise anything. They can just add this gyro data, and whoever doesn't need it will just simply not use it, and they will not lose anything. And whoever needs, they can just optionally add that in, and that's it. There's basically no downsides.
I mean, all they have to do is, it's going to cost them money, programming. But what are they doing? What they're basically doing is, hi, you bought a camera from us for $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, whatever dollars or euros. Hey, we have a firmware upgrade for you that will blow your mind. You will just love your company more, right?
Yeah, for sure. I don't know. Basically, there's just huge corporations, and maybe they make decisions on some other basis that we think.
Yeah, I have a question that's going to have to do with this as well, that my buddy Artur, I asked people if they had any questions, and my friend Artur had a really good question for you. But let's go back to, so there was a time, so what happened was, you told us, basically, or somebody said, hey, you can do gyro logging and use any camera that doesn't have IBIS or optical stabilization in the lens. And we were like, say what? And you're like, well, you can put your GoPro on top of the camera or on the drone or whatever and fly it, or you can record the data on your flight controller. And it's like, I know all this stuff. I know how to do it. It takes way too long to do all these things, especially for me who works with FPV, being on a set and telling people, hey, let me just take my card out so I can, put it in my computer and join the video to the exact file and then mash the workflow is just not happening. It's not going to happen. But it meant we were onto something, or you were onto something, or the community is onto something. And the cool part was you could show proof of concept this way. You could tell a camera manufacturer, hey, look what I did with your camera, your lens, and my little GoPro on top, or my little gyro logo on top. And this is me running through the streets with a camera, image shaking, and then here's me when I've gyroflowed the hell out of this image, and it's just gimbal looking smooth, like not even gimbal, I would call it steady cam, like glide cam, whatever that thing was called that Devin Supertramp would use, like flowy, mushy, like perfect. And that was when I noticed, okay, now I know Gyroflow is gonna go somewhere because this is amazing. And then you came out on Facebook, I know, appealing to people going, hey guys, please help me get a hold of Blackmagic. And I think you needed to buy a license or something so that you could implement Gyroflow with their firmware, I think, right? Or how did you work with, you work with them with this?
It was a bit different. The thing is that whatever I could work on, I did for free. So everything that I was capable of doing into Gyroflow to add any like new cameras or anything, I just did it for like my passion, my hobby for free. But and I used some components.
His camera died. were telling me how you got in contact with Blackmagic, so let's just restart that.
Yeah, the problem was that I used the playback component in the user interface that was not open source. So to play back B-raw files, it was basically using only the popular formats like MP4 or yeah, basically those popular videos. So there wasn't any way that I personally could add support for B-raw files to playback in Gyroflow, because that library was third party and that was closed source. So I couldn't just go in and implement that. I just had no ways to do that. But I could hire the author, basically pay him for his time to add that support on his end to that library. And that was what I needed money for, to pay some external developer to improve the external library that was not open source, to basically add that support of Blackmagic cameras. Because Blackmagic didn't have to participate in that, because they had SDK to playback. That's why you can playback in some other software. They have that publicly. So I could use that, but I couldn't implement that because I didn't have source for the playback library that I was using. So that's why I needed to pay someone else who could do that, the author of that library.
And when you asked, I remember when you asked that, it took me like 2 days to decide, yeah, I should pay for this because I'm gonna get a Blackmagic naked. I had a Blackmagic, it wasn't naked yet, but I knew I was gonna put it naked. I knew I wanted to use it more. So I was like, I'm gonna pay for this because I know it's gonna be good for me in the future. But it took me 2 days. I don't know. Did you get everything you asked for, or the community doesn't give back that much?
I anticipated that it will be much more, the community will need this much more. In the end, I got all the money from the community, but it took a lot longer than I thought, basically, before. It wasn't that important for them, I think, but yeah, it finally happened, so that's good.
I just want to say this publicly also. There's this weird thing in these communities and FPV stuff, and like, there's a lot of us who work with this, who make money off this. I use your software. I find it amazing. And if you make like a Founders Edition, or if you do like, hey guys, support me when you need help for other stuff. I've tried helping you with contacts as well and stuff like that. But
yeah.
When we have people like Adrian in our community doing something that can help us in the future, and we need to support these people, because I mean, it's not that maybe Adrian doesn't have the money to pay for all this, but he's doing this for free for him, but for us too. So, you know, we're not programming. Most of us are not even beta testing for him. So if you're using his software, you know, like, ask, do you need something? Do you need help with this? I got contacts over here. Can I help you with something? So I think people need to help more.
Yeah, I agree. A lot of people are constantly asking for new features, but they don't give anything from themselves, or they contribute. They don't contribute. Yeah. So there's a lot of demands, but when it comes to actually helping to do anything, there's like not enough interest, and that's kind of not how I imagined the community.
But with the Blackmagic, then just going back to Blackmagic, so we don't lose the focus on that, and I want to jump to some other stuff too, but. So you paid the guy, get the player, so you could play B-raw inside the, or you could use the B-raw and export the file that we then can use in DaVinci. Okay, so Blackmagic had nothing to do with that.
At first, no, but we were actually in contact with Blackmagic after that because they added the gyro data to their metadata, and they contacted us just giving out this information, how is it encoded. So they helped us, but it wasn't like money wasn't involved in that.
No, yeah, but because they have stabilization in DaVinci as well.
Yeah, it was at that time.
Compared to your software it's like night and day. Yours, I don't know how it is today. I haven't used it in a long while, but night and day. Like,
it was different.
Much better. Yeah, much better. It's like zoom in like crazy in the other one.
Yeah, but also Gyroflow had a lot more experience through all these cameras and implementations or corner cases and stuff like that. And theirs is just much more simple and much younger. So So yeah.
That brings me to Artur Cavallos, who's also going to be a guest on this podcast. He had a really good question. Do you ever get contacted by these camera makers saying, hey, can we buy your software? Can we buy your technology? Because for me and him as well, we said, why is like Sony Vegas not as good as yours? And still they have more metadata than yours. And then you have Da Vinci, not as good as yours. And like, why are they not just asking you, hey, or it's open source, basically they could go get your information, right? Or am I wrong?
We didn't have any contact about that. Nobody wanted to buy us out. So I'm not sure the reason. But I think also this is well-known program in the community, but it's probably not as well-known outside this community. And just people don't know that it exists. We also don't do any marketing at all, like zero and anything. So probably they don't have any urge to buy or anything like that. We didn't have any offer like that so far.
So anybody who wants to market Adrian's Gyroflow and make a cool video that shows everybody who doesn't fly FPV or do our stuff, hey, look what you can do with your camera. That would be awesome. We should get some YouTuber to do it, get more reach. Other companies we talked about, but there's one company that I talked to. I have some contacts in there. We managed to get a camera borrowed, a lens. We went to their headquarters here in Portugal. We did put a GoPro on top, run with the camera. I sent you the file so you could do it. I think it was you or did I? No, I think you stabilized it, right?
Yeah, I think so, but you recorded the files.
Yeah, I recorded the files, and we showed this, one of the biggest camera makers in the world. We showed them, look what we can do. And we had, I would say, the right people listening to us. And they're like, this is very interesting. Show us more. And we're like, this is it. You sent them some documents. This is how you can implement it. And they were like, this is very interesting. Let us think. And they are still thinking. And this was like a year ago.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
It's frustrating because it's also like if they push this out and they told, like in a newsletter to their customers who own these cameras, hey guys, we are like the biggest camera company in the world, and we have this software that will stabilize now for you guys. Bam,
Yeah.
And if let's say one of these brands says, like let's just call it X, brand X says, hey Adrian, we want to implement this in like with our logo, make a software, Gyroflow, just for our cameras. That could be done, and you would probably do it, right?
I wouldn't do it.
You wouldn't do it, not for a fee. You'd want it to be open source 100%.
Yeah, I would prefer to keep it open source and free for everyone.
See, this is the kind of guy Adrian is. Okay, so then I had some more questions. Are there any camera makers that we haven't talked about that you would also like to see? Because I know FreeFly Ember, I mean, it's slow motion, you probably don't need to.
Yeah, they have the gyro. They contacted us and they said they will have gyro data, and they will contact us about the details, but we're still waiting. But they're open to collaborating, so that's cool.
Okay. What's the brand you'd most want to work with to get this? Is it Sony?
Yeah, because we need the IBIS and OIS support, and that would be very, very beneficial. But I don't see this happening.
Yeah. And if you could get that, because I've flown some Sonys with, the sensor on, and if I fly very slow and nice and very well tuned drone, it's okay, it's perfect. But as soon as you start doing a flip or a roll or a dive, it goes crazy. Would that mean that with your software and you having all the info you want from Sony, you would solve this, or do we still need to lock the sensor in place?
No. This is a different issue. Basically, if you are using on the drone and you have high G-forces, the sensor will still shift beyond the like normal operation, and that can't be corrected. So that's a problem. But if you are shooting something not as crazy as flippy flops, then it will work, and that should be fine. So Yeah, there's the best way is to basically disable IBIS like physically, and some people do that, like glue the sensor.
Glue the sensor, I've seen that.
Yeah, and that works. But yeah, I'm mostly thinking about like handheld stuff using my camera because I don't fly my Sony on a drone. I know some people do, but I don't, and still it's I can't use IBIS with my software, so that would be very important to me to get. So yeah.
Yeah, and then which one you wanted to work? I have some more. Then from Instagram, I have two guys who asked here, or one guy asked 2 questions. How to stabilize vertical videos with GoPro? I don't film anything vertical with FPV, so I have no idea what to answer on this, but I think it's just stabilize it lying like normally, right? Or just run stabilization?
Yeah, just open the file in Gyroflow and then under export settings, just pick a vertical resolution and that's it. There's nothing special about it.
And is there somewhere where you have put like what are the absolute best export settings for GoPro?
I think there's some of a general overview in the documentation, but the defaults are basically the same as the input file. So whatever bitrate is recorded in the camera, the exported file will also use that bitrate and the resolution. Okay. So I think the defaults are good for most people. And if you want the maximal possible quality, then it's probably great to use the Gyroflow plugin for resolve when there is no re-encoding and you just work on original file from start to finish.
Good, got you. And have you, when you do your pixel sniffing, do you compare RealSteady to yours sometimes and look at what the differences are?
No, not anymore. Like there's not that many issues with stabilization itself. Most of the work that I do recently is more like some productivity features or some workflow automations or some other cameras or anything like that. The basic stabilization algorithm and the zooming algorithm are basically the same since the beginning, and that works well. There were some minor adjustments, but most of that is just minor things.
And also, we can use this camera, which is quite nice. It's the DJI Action 2. Thank you, Peter, for this one. And this was funny because when I was given this, I read online that it would work with your software, and all of a sudden I went to flash it, and the software wasn't to be flashed anymore, and then all of a sudden for a couple of days it was online again on DJI, so I was all happy. It gets really hot, but for FPV it works fine. And I'm guessing DJI, most or all cameras that DJI make work with Gyroflow.
Yes, most that don't have physical gimbal, that's important, because when they have physical gimbal like Mavics or the new Pocket 3, they don't have gyro data because it's not needed.
Yeah, but you don't. But how does that? How did they just leave that in there for you? Or did you contact them? Did they talk to you? Did they probably read your specs or?
Yeah, we were in contact. They came up with their own format for the gyro data, and they let me know how it looks so I can implement it. So basically, they started the idea, and yeah, they contacted me with all the details, and we worked from there. And that was very nice because they were the only company that really took care of all the low-level data with timing and the lens correction. Everything is built into the file, so they really took care of all the details. Because you can have just the gyro data, just like 3 values on the X, Y, Z axis, and that's it. Then you have to do auto sync, load current, correct the lens profile and stuff like that. And a lot of is on your side, on the user side. But then you have GoPro or the DJI where everything is included in the file and everything can be automatic. And that's up to camera manufacturers. They can put effort into those details, or they check and choose to not to, and then we have to deal with it.
Because, I mean, from the DJI, this one works really good, so I'm really stoked on that. I've used it very few times because I like flying this as wide as possible and getting some cool FPV freestyle shots with it. But on the O3, which is the camera that is on the DJI Avata, I don't think it's on the first DJI. I think it's only on the Avata.
Yes.
And it's on our smaller DJI drones that we use the O3 on. It's not GoPro quality. It's almost GoPro quality. It's so much lighter, so much smaller, so much cheaper than having a GoPro because it's already everything built in. And the chip is on the camera, so no matter what angle you're having it at, it'll always work.
Yeah,
and
yeah, exactly.
I love it. I love that thing, man. It's so much fun. Like for small videos, for home, for fun, for smaller gigs, for flying like through really small spaces. I want to show you the drone that I use is this one here. So this is one of them. This is the smallest one. It's called the Pavo Pico from Beta TV. And this is really small. It breaks a little bit easier than I would like it to. That's why I have some other drones flying it. But you can rip around with this thing. Like I rip around in my office, those gates I have up there, they're for flying with this thing through, and another one I have a 2-inch from FPV frame. But this thing is super fun, super fast, and yeah, there you go. And
Hello.
it records image like I would probably say like almost a GoPro 6 quality, maybe for grading not as good, but it's fun and it works. Like you put this into Adrian's Gyroflow and it just smooths everything out, just perfect. So this drone and Gyroflow, and you're already making cinematic footage.
Yes, exactly.
It works really good. No shakes, no nothing. I have another drone that I built, shakes and the image is not working well, but I think it's the camera that's broken. But yeah, and works with the free software.
Yeah, and when the DJI first contacted us about the capabilities, and I saw that they're making the air unit with the built-in gyro and the ability to record basically 4K 120, that was like, I was mind blown that they can do that in such a small package, because it's incredibly smart. Especially that it have the whole transmission and the recording and all in this small package. So that's amazing.
I mean, when you want to film in better quality, you have to go like into this like log mode and other qualities. So the video to your eyes is not the same as you're used to and all this stuff. But you pay a little price, but you get so much out of it. And I mean that's where we get to this thing where a company like DJI, it's such a win-win situation for them that you are making this software, because they just go, oh, let's just put some guys to implement this. Adrian, here's what we did. Put that in your software and whoop, there, Bob's your uncle. You have stabilization in this and the Avata as well.
Exactly, and it just works. You can just load file and click export. That's all you need to do.
And that must have been funny for you, because, I mean, the first people who were using your software were the curious. Then you started getting more people like me who work with images, and we're also curious, but we're starting to use it and giving you some feedback. And then all of a sudden, just all hell breaks loose. O3 users and avatars. So, do you have a way of knowing what most people are stabilizing? Is there like a call sent to home in your software that what most people are using, like feedback or something?
No, I don't have any stats like that. I can only see what people ask for on Discord, because that's the main community that I hang out on, and people ask questions. And I can say that one is more popular than others. There's basically a lot of users among all those cameras, so it's mostly even, I think. I wouldn't say that most users are DJIs or GoPros. Basically, it's all the same.
Yeah, no, I know and many people would use it for GoPro because the GoPro software is paid.
Yeah, exactly. It's $100. So.
Yeah, I bought it and I like it and I use it a lot. I use yours and I use it, but like I use it on this, which I know a lot of people do as well, and I figured out a couple of months ago, because one thing that I wish that they would do, the camera manufacturers, was to have the chip. The gyro chip on the sensor. Does any camera manufacturer have it on the sensor? Everybody has it on the motherboard.
I think DJI for sure, and GoPro also has it on the sensor as well, because naked ones work as well. I'm not
Yep.
sure about the others because I don't know if there is enough community interest into disassembling them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you're not gonna take apart a Komodo and it's
Y-
just built in a way
Yeah,
that
yeah,
when you
yeah.
open it up, you look at it and you go like, yeah, I'm not gonna make this naked.
Yeah, exactly.
It's already box format, so you wouldn't need to. All right, let me see if I have some other questions. No, that's basic. Yeah, who inspires you to, like, what inspires you to go out and make footage or work on this stuff? Is there anybody like from the community or like other creators or like family members or anybody who got you into all this? Like what started your passion for this?
I don't have anyone in particular. I mostly was driven by my own curiosity, and always loved traveling. So when I started traveling, I noticed like, this is a lot of memories and stuff like that, and it would be cool to just remember them and have a cool video, and that's how the whole filming journey started. And about inspiration, I don't know if there is anything like strong that I follow. I like a few YouTubers out there, and I really like the style of Sam Calder. He makes great videos, but not especially in FPV, but just like general editing and storytelling and stuff like that. And besides that, I don't know. I don't have any idols. I'm also not active on social media, or I don't even have Instagram or anything like that. So yeah, I just.
Are you gonna send me some links to your home video so we can look at it and judge you?
I can if you want. I can send you.
Yeah, I think maybe some people would be interested. Yeah, and also I want to say before we end this, like. First of all, I just want to say to anybody listening to this, if you have contacts in any of these camera makers or just have ideas on how Adrian can get a hold of the right people so we can get this, the ball rolling, because I genuinely think that if we get one of these bigger companies to do it, then others will follow.
Yeah.
Because these companies, they love to copy each other. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's good. And also, like, from me and many others, I want to thank you for making this software publicly available to us. I know that I've bugged you a lot in the past and be like, what the hell, how do I do this? Or why is this not working? You're like, dude, I don't even have this camera, I don't know. So it's funny. But yeah, and I bet a lot of other people also have had this and like curious about it. I have one more question I forgot to ask you. So this podcast is going like forward and back. What do you work with? Are you allowed to talk about that?
Like on my professional job?
Yeah.
I would prefer not to say any specifics, but in general, I just want to keep everything separate. But in general, I'm a CTO of a tech company in the United States, working on video transmissions online. So basically, that's I'm responsible for the code and infrastructure for sending videos between different people around the world. So yeah, and
we need that on drones, so we can send live footage in super quality from a drone over 5G. So when you
but we need hardware, and I'm software, so we need some company to came up with some open source, maybe not open source, but something with gyro data, maybe that you can stabilize in real time. And I actually requested this feature from DJI because they have O3 air unit, they have feed to the goggles, and they could send the gyro data from the camera along with this feed. I think so, but and I asked them to do that, and I will implement the real-time stabilization basically. So people could use real-time streaming with stabilization from the O3 air unit. But they say...
you just blew my mind now, because I was like, in my mind, sorry, I'm cutting off, but my mind just went Cosmos Streamer. You've seen that box, right?
Yeah.
Like imagine if Cosmos Streamer was live, like, gyroflowing the footage, and you could just, here guys, live TV, there you go.
Yeah, especially that Gyroflow has mobile apps right now on Android and iOS that works as well in real time. So it could be just plug in your phone into your goggles and have stabilized feed. And that's possible already, but we don't have the gyro data transmitted. And I asked DJI about
please.
it a few times, but they said that there is no enough bandwidth to send it in real time, and maybe in the future. But they are not saying no, but not right now.
Maybe they can make a special firmware for streaming people, or make a license.
Yeah.
I would pay
maybe.
a license for that. I would definitely pay a license
Yeah,
for that.
I would love to see that as well, because a lot of people are doing live streaming from O3 Adrian, because the quality is just acceptable for it. And
Awesome.
yeah, we'll see.
And when are you going to tell me?
Sorry, I have one more request. When you said about the contacts and stuff like that, I get a lot of questions about the Resolve plugin, and it's just so limited for some things. The OpenFX plugin, and if you had contact to someone at the Resolve team at Blackmagic, that would be also beneficial, because I could use some improvements in Resolve in order to support more features from Gyroflow. So if anyone of you has any contact to Blackmagic on the Resolve team, I would like to know. So thank you,
guys. He's done all this for the community. If you know somebody, just hey. Can you check this guy out? Maybe we can work something out here. That would be awesome. All right. Adrian, it's been a pleasure talking to you. I learned so much more. We've talked in the past. We're trying to work on on 2 projects.
Yeah.
2 brands. Well, one just they're not answering anymore. The other one, the guy says he's always saying he's going to look into it. He has the right contacts. He's just waiting for the right way to approach it. I also want to tell you, since you said you like traveling, mi casa su casa, as they say, like if you want to come over, stay at my house, you are more than welcome to.
Thank you.
Have you been to Portugal?
Yeah, I was once in the Algarve region, and I liked it a lot. So it's very nice, and I also hear about great things about Portugal and you people there. So. Yeah, it's a nice country, and I'll probably visit sometime as well, again.
No, I love it here. I'm from Sweden, but I live here, and I love it here, and it's very free, and like today we had amazing weather, and I actually have with me, sitting right over there, the famous Cine Ghost. Casper is here, and you want to join in here? Let me give him an ear pod as well. So.
Hi.
Hey,
how are you?
Polish.
Sorry?
He didn't know you were Polish.
Oh yeah, I'm Polish. Yeah. But
yeah, awesome.
We could speak Polish.
No, yeah, I think the earphone here did a thing where you're hearing from me, but he's hearing you, so it's funny.
Yeah.
But I just want to say, I met him over Facebook. I think we started chatting, or Instagram or something. And he's here visiting, staying at my house. Well, he hasn't even seen the house, came straight to here. So
nice.
Also, when you want to come and
great job.
Yeah, and
the
weather is amazing here. So yeah, whenever you want to come, feel free, man.
Yeah, thank you. I will keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right, Adrian, thank you so much for being on my podcast. I really, really hope that somebody sees this and can bring something good to all this, and help the community and get you the contacts you need, because you've done so much already for us. I love all what you're doing, and I hope it makes other companies understand how powerful this tool is. And yeah, I just don't understand why they don't want to implement it, because it's a win-win situation. So
yeah, exactly.
That's what I'm going to call this podcast, Win-Win Situation with Adrian.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was a great podcast. We discussed a lot of interesting topics, and yeah, I also hope that we can reach some decisive people in those companies. Yeah.
All right. Thank you. How do you say goodbye in Polish?
Do widzenia.
Do widzenia.
Do widzenia. Cześć.
Piwo and małpa.
Bye everyone. Have a great day.
Bye. Bye.